Hey, I got you guys a protein shake.
Awesome. I love protein.
For 15 years, I've followed the muscle building mantra that you need at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But recently, I reduced my protein intake from 240 grams to just 150 grams a day. At my body weight, that's well under 1 gram per pound. So I should have lost mass faster than a snowman in July. But that's not what happened. And the outcome has been eye-opening. In this video, I'm sharing my exact nutrition plan and how it impacted my body and strength, so you can see how much protein you really need to support your fitness goals. The gram per pound idea gained traction in the 1970s with the rise of bodybuilding icons like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually, I first read about it in Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. As a young bodybuilder, I held on to this golden rule of protein intake, tighter than a deadlift bar on a PR attempt. While the gram per pound ideology has dominated the fitness world for decades, it's based more on assumptions and tradition than on hard scientific evidence. I began to question if an ultra-high protein diet was truly necessary. About a year ago, I reduced my protein intake to find out. Before this experiment, my protein intake ranged from 1.2 to 1.6 grams per pound, under the assumption that more protein equals more muscle. But that's not necessarily the case. A 2018 meta-analysis showed that protein intake above 0.74 grams per pound did not lead to greater gains in muscle mass or strength. For those uninitiated to scientific studies, a meta-analysis is the highest level of evidence you can get. This compelling data convinced me to significantly reduce my protein intake to 0.8 grams per pound. This meant rethinking my entire approach to meal planning and rearranging macronutrient ratios to fit my new goals. Before this experiment, I was targeting 40% carbs, 25% fat, and 35% protein. During this experiment, I targeted 55% carbs, 23% fat, and 22% protein. As you can see, I mainly increased my carb intake to replace the calories from reduced protein. A few months into the experiment, I started posting weekly progress videos on my YouTube channel. Here's how my physique changed from April to October. It doesn't look like I lost any muscle, even though I cut 90 grams of protein from my daily meal plan. For my fellow fitness nerds, let's dive into the detailed numbers and results. This spreadsheet shows my nutrition and body composition numbers for the entire year of the protein intake experiment. In January, I decreased my protein intake from 1.4 to 0.8 grams per pound, but continued eating in a slight calorie surplus. Over the next 3 months, I gained 2 pounds of lean mass along with 1 pound of body fat. This proved to me that losing muscle shouldn't be an issue with the lower protein target. In April, I transitioned to a cutting phase by eating in a slight calorie deficit. Surprisingly, I maintained all my muscle mass while losing 5 pounds of pure body fat over the next few months. However, I went on an elk hunting expedition in late September, where I was in a massive calorie deficit for about a week. This shows up in October's numbers as a loss of 3 pounds of lean mass. That's when I switched to a recomposition phase by bumping up my calories to my maintenance intake. Since then, I've regained 1 pound of lean mass while losing 2 more pounds of body fat. Overall, it doesn't seem like the reduced protein intake had any negative effects on my bodybuilding efforts. But what about my performance in the gym? To see if I lost strength, I reviewed my workout log for my heaviest sets on squats and bench press. I also included my maximum pull-up reps since that was my go-to back exercise. My lower body strength may have dipped slightly based on my reps at 275 on heel-elevated squats. On the other hand, my upper body strength stayed about the same based on bench press and pull-ups. Those are my results and experience with reducing protein intake. But what can we learn from all this? Here are my protein intake takeaways. First, a protein target of 0.8 grams per pound was just as good for building and maintaining muscle as 1.4 grams per pound in my case. This also jives with the meta-analysis showing a point of diminishing returns above 0.74 grams per pound. But keep in mind, my primary goal was to maintain muscle while gradually burning body fat, and I haven't tested this protein intake during an aggressive bulking phase. Second, a lower protein intake didn't make me weaker. My performance in the gym remained fairly constant, even with a caloric deficit. However, I wasn't training for 1-rep maxes, so I can't say if more protein would be better in that regard. And third, eating less protein gave me more meal planning freedom. I wasn't handcuffed to eating meat with every meal, and my grocery and supplement costs went down drastically. To be clear, my lower protein intake was still relatively high compared to the average person's diet. So I'm not advocating that anyone follow a low protein diet. But just how much protein you need depends on your unique body and fitness goals. In addition to my personal protein experiment, I've also worked with hundreds of clients as a fitness coach. The gram per pound benchmark doesn't work for everyone because body weight is not the only indicator of how much protein you need. Your protein requirements might differ from mine or someone else with the same body weight. There's no single target or one-size-fits-all rule. Here's how these factors can influence how much protein you need. Overweight individuals probably don't need as many grams of protein per pound because less of that weight is muscle mass. By comparison, leaner individuals may require more grams per pound since more of their weight is muscle mass. You likely need less protein if you're inactive or only work out at low to moderate intensity, while more active and intense lifters may be at the higher end of the protein intake spectrum. Whether you're trying to get stronger, build muscle, or lose weight may also impact your body's protein requirements. For example, I would be foolish to have a 300-pound obese client eat 300 grams of protein and use up 1,200 calories of their energy budget. It would be better to set their protein intake based on lean mass and the necessary calorie deficit for weight loss. On the other hand, I might have an underweight 160-pound client target more than 160 grams of protein. Then combine that with a calorie surplus to help them build muscle more effectively. These examples demonstrate how your protein intake should be based on your body composition, workout routine, and fitness goals, not simply your weight. Overall, the gram per pound method just can't account for all these variables. That's why I no longer use it to calculate protein intake for myself or my clients. In my experience, calculating your protein intake as a percentage of calories works better than an arbitrary number of grams per pound. I like the calories first approach because it ensures that you have the necessary energy balance for fat loss or muscle gain. Here's how it works. Calculate your calorie needs using a formula that accounts for body weight, body fat percentage, activity level, and fitness goals. Or use a fitness tracker to measure your actual energy expenditure and calorie needs. Let's say you determine that you need 2,400 calories per day. Next, multiply your calorie intake by your desired protein percentage. For example, if you're targeting 25%, that would be 600 calories from protein. Now divide your protein calories by 4 since each gram of protein has 4 calories. That comes out to 150 grams of protein per day. Finding your protein target as a percentage of calories takes a bit more math, but it's also more personalized to your unique macronutrient and calorie requirements. If you need more help, click the link in the description to use my free protein intake calculator, and check out my next video to learn more about bodybuilding nutrition.